This is our judges forum where the students have the pleasure of asking the judges some questions and having their turn for a feedback loop. This is my favorite part because as a professor, it's not lost on me that the students get their fair turn, right? I just want to thank you all, judges and students, for your time and talents and energy and hard work on wicked problems. And I appreciate you very much. Patty, how you doing? What time is it, Patty?
Yes, I'm doing great.
What time is it over there, Patty?
It's coming to 10 p.m.
Oh, it's 10 p.m.? I thought it was like 3 o'clock in the morning over there. Yeah, okay. Who's...
Oh.
My
He's
crew
just
is
getting ready to party now.
Yeah, okay. My crew is telling me that you were out the latest here. Relax, kick back, take your shoes off, relax. If we were at our house at KCAD right now, we'd be in like lounge chairs, chilling, having nice conversations, sitting in a big circle, having some fun. I'd be dancing around with a microphone, and we'd be telling stories.
Yeah, I understand. Just that I'm still in office and there is a few time.
Yeah. And these judges, they're awful nice folks, and they super smart, and they've been doing really good work for us for a long time. I have some notes on my phone. I'm not texting my friends. Well, sometimes I am. I'm texting my judge friends. But I want to start by saying, besides the big fat thank you to everybody and the crew here in the studio, which I wish you could see the studio. It's really cool. Very techy. I asked them how many computers are here right now, and they couldn't tell me a number, but a lot of computers. And I want to say, please keep an eye on your email, students, because as a professor, I know you don't usually love to do that. Wicked at Wege Prize is going to be in touch with all of you over the next few weeks and beyond, because all of you are going to be getting checks in the mail, and that takes some paperwork. So congratulations on that. And we like to stay in touch because you are now officially friends and family of the Wege Prize, and we want to know how you're doing, and we want to know where your ideas are taking you, and we like to know your successes moving forward, because all of you will continue your work, and all of you will have successes moving forward, and we want to celebrate with you as you move forward in your journeys. So stay in touch with us and lean in, because Kyle's going to send you notes, and I'm going to send you notes, so please pay attention. How many of you are going to be in school next year? Are any of you graduating right now?
Me, I'm in second year, so I'll still be in school.
You'll still be in school. Anybody else going to still be in school?
Yeah. Up to 2023.
Okay, so you could do it again. You could do it again, right? Right? So design is an iterative process, right? You try again, you test and try, you test and try, you test, try, fail, try. Never say die, right? So as long as you're in school, full time, anywhere in the world, do it again. I just want to encourage you to think about that. It's happened before, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again and again. So thank you for that. It is for you to ask questions, so I'm going to be quiet for a minute and ask the students if you have questions for the judges first. Anybody?
Maybe just to know what was the most challenging part that you saw, you faced throughout the analyzing all the applications and all the stages that you have been passing through.
I'm sorry, could you just ask the question one more time? You broke up a little.
Oh, I was saying, what is the most challenging part that you faced throughout the analysis of all the applications and also all the stages?
Well, I'll start by saying that this is a really enjoyable process to be a part of as a judge. I really enjoy the several different stages element of the process, seeing how my fellow judges are commenting on your projects and learning a lot from that alone. So there's two stages of learning. There's learning from you, who's written the team, who have written your proposals, and then there's learning from the judges who've come back with some crucial feedback. And then seeing your final presentations and finally getting to meet some individuals in the way that we do through Zoom. That's a thoroughly enjoyable process, but it's also a very difficult process when it comes down to having to rank people in a 1 to 5 kind of way, because your solutions were so good. We deliberated for a long time over how we would order things, and that's because you all hit such a high mark with your submissions that made it really difficult for us. So you captured the essence of the circular economy really well, I think, across all 5 submissions. So I'd say that is the most difficult part of the process for me.
Yeah, I was just going to say that my first answer to you is deadlines, just like you, meeting the deadlines and getting through all the work in time before it ends has been a challenge. And by no means did each one of us see all 35 teams throughout the whole process, but there is a lot of material to go through at any given time. But the better answer is, I think that the biggest challenge is just balancing so many factors in thinking about your projects. You have physical issues, often chemical issues, ecosystem issues, marketing issues, business issues, financial issues. There's looking at your team and your advisors and where you're coming from and the severity of the problem, the challenge that you're trying to solve. There's just so many elements that none of these projects are really that similar to each other when you get down and look at the details. So trying to balance all that into some sort of unspoken formula in order to make a decision, it feels more like art than science.
I would also add to that in the sense that I think the beauty of these solutions, all 5 of them, are very specific to place. They're very specific to the locality that each team is from. And that's a very, very big strength. That means that they're actually adapted to place, and it means that they'll probably be successful because of that. And so that makes our job quite difficult because it's there, if you had 5 different solutions in the same location, then you could be like, okay, which one fits better? But because they're so specific, it means that they all have value in a different way, in a different situation. And, we don't come from each of those countries and contexts either. So we're trying to put ourselves in your shoes. And so that's, I think, one of the big challenges is really coming to grips with what makes sense in that locality. So as much as possible, I think going forward is if you can help bring people into the world that you inhabit, the solution space that you're trying to navigate, and communicate that as much as possible. I think that's one of the biggest things to try and to accomplish, especially in a kind of global competition like this.
Yeah, and I'd like to echo that about the locations, but it also brings me back to what Colin was talking about, the judges, because some of the judges, we have different backgrounds, we have different things we bring to the table, and so we're able to sometimes shed some light on the perspectives of where your ideas are coming from, and it does help to inform us. So we're able to inform each other while we're trying to distill all this information and rate it and see where we can step in and really advise you on what we think the best path is, and so it's to make it successful. So it's a great process. It's wonderful to see these things, and it's wonderful to see how you guys have been able to take some of our advice and use it, and where you take us on that journey. You got to you're taking us down that story, and so when you're able to articulate clearly and show us with examples of the wicked problem and how your solution fits in, it's very interesting to see, you know, and tough to evaluate.
That's interesting.
Can I come with a return question? Unless Carrie was going to jump in with something there, which is good. The return question is, well, the exact same back at you. What's your experience of this? What's the most difficult part of this process for you? Because this is I think it's a competition like no other. So I'm keen to hear your thoughts on it.
I don't know if I should be the one to start or someone want to start.
You may start. Perfect.
Yeah, for us, the most difficult part was getting the team members to together. Like since we have different time zones. So I'm in Korea and some of my team members in Ghana. So in terms for us to meet online and Zoom, internet problem. So that was a big challenge for us. And
So
also
Abdul,
along the way
it's 3 o'clock in the morning for you, right?
yeah.
Nathan set me straight. So thank you, Nathan. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning.
I understand that challenge. That's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And also along the way, we learned about like the circular economy and how to implement it into our project. So yeah, we really learned a lot about this circular economy and how we'll be able to improve in the future anytime we are solving problems for the society.
That's good.
Yeah, I think we had similar challenge concerning the time difference. I'm also away from home and all my other team members are back in Ghana. So all our meetings were like all online. The ones that they met in person, I wouldn't be around. So that was quite challenging. And I think this is positive as well. The feedback that we got from the judges trying to work our way around it, because if you are not careful, as you are trying to solve an issue, you will be also creating another problem or impact alongside. So just trying to solve something or solve a problem and making sure that you are not generating another problem. So just have to be very particular about the decisions and the consequences that come out of it. So yeah, it's been incredible and wonderful.
Excellent observation. Perfect answer. Thank you.
Actually, for me, we also had maybe just a minor problem in issue of time difference, but taking into account that at least two members were on the same institution, we are better off. But the main challenge that we can say we faced is to understand that we are supposed to leave some part of our idea, because our circular economy, our cycle had a lot of aspects. We had, for example, the issue of biogas and the other issue of greenhouse for showing the farmer that this is how our product is working. So we are taught that this is a huge scale. We had to scale it down so that we start a little and continue. That was a hard part to understand and to say that we should really leave other parts.
Yeah, I wanted to add that, well, my team and I are very grateful for this experience. And the fact that we were all from different disciplines, from different areas, we have different backgrounds, like give us the possibility of solving this problem and creating this project from different points of view and learning a lot. And thank you for the feedback from the judges, because it helped us a lot during the process. And about the competition, I really like it, because at the end, I think that this kind of experience gives you the point of view, like a more conscious visions for your career, for your life, because you start considering also the social and environmental problems.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you. Patty, do you have anything to add?
Oh, yes, sure. I've personally enjoyed this challenge, and I trust that as a team, there is a lot that we have come to learn, and a lot that has been revealed unto us that was initially not something that was to be considered. Probably I'll repeat myself, that is in the way we design products and the after effects of the products. So yeah, that is, but looking at the challenges we faced, given that our idea really needed a lot of feasibility proof, we had to use the resources we had as a team to come up with the prototypes that we were able to make. So that was one of the challenges. And then looking at being students from different institutions, same country though, time alignments together with each one of us having to fulfill their responsibilities at school. So it was also as well slightly challenging, but generally the whole competition has been an eye opener to the way we design our products. And yeah, we hope that further going forward, it is a part of us now to think about the after effects of even the products that we shall develop even individually after all this project. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I had one comment on the basis of just hearing you, everyone speak. I think it's really important to emphasize that this finals day and the deadlines that are set are completely artificial from your own perspective and trajectory of innovation and development. So the judgment that is made at this stage is rather arbitrary when it comes to your own path. And so I would say that, you know, even though we have to compare and create a ranking, et cetera, at this particular day and point in time, these problems that you're solving are so multifaceted and have their own story to them. And it's pretty difficult to say when a solution comes to fruition. And so I would say, like, you know, just make sure that you're following the heart and soul of your idea to its fullest potential. And at a certain point in time, it'll become obvious to the world that it's something that everyone needs to take note of. And so it's that'll have its own timeline, and it's not the timeline of this competition. So I would just emphasize that just follow, like, march to the beat of your own drum in terms of, like, if you've got an idea and you love it, keep going and follow it to its fullest potential. And there will be natural times that come up that you'll have a prototype and then you can show it and sell it. And that's going to be very individual. So just stepping back from this competition, I would just recommend, you know, really looking at your own timeframes and understanding when it makes sense for you to really have a good showcase for the world. And I think that will naturally bring success to all of your projects. I think every one of these projects is worth actually it happening. I can see them all happening, which is excellent.
That is a very important thing for you to remember. We're trying to understand an academic calendar, whatever that means. It's different for every continent, right? So we've worked on this prize for 8 years. We're going to do it for 5 more, and we just have a best guess. So please don't stop working on your ideas because we picked today. Doesn't make any difference to us. Patty, for example, I wonder, and the judges might tell me differently, but your stove is fascinating to me. I wonder what other markets would be interested in that solar stove. I like to camp. Colin, do you like to camp? So I'm wondering, could that stove be scaled in such a way that a person who likes to camp anywhere in the world might like a solar stove? Or is that just a wacky idea because I'm a wacky person? I don't know. So my thought is, think bigger than maybe your own space about how you're solving problems and who they're for. Maybe I need your solar stove for camping. Not sure. Just putting it out there.
Obviously, our benchmarking on the Gosan stove are as portable as it is. Still, yeah, we are, because the Faculty of Technology has seen the potential that being one of the finalists, it means the idea and the product has meaning in it. So it has already given us credit within the faculty, and they're already considering to invest more in it. That is both time and the implementation of the product. So yeah, probably benchmarking on the Boston stove. Yeah, trust me, one day, one time, we shall be presenting it to the world, and yeah, we shall tell them that here is the stove that is yet to revolutionize the system, the cooking system in Uganda and beyond. Yeah, sure.
Like that. Beautiful. All right, who has the next question for the judges?
I think I have one.
Okay, great.
Maybe for those that are seeking to apply next time, that is for 2020, I would like the judges to tell those that are viewing that what exactly they need to do to emerge number one, probably, because by the time one comes onto, okay, probably let's say the finalists, because it's also a step upon. So yeah, that is what I'm seeking from the judges, that for anybody looking forward to coming and applying for Wege Prize, what are those niche points they have to touch, their products have to fulfill to make it? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll jump in, and the first thing that I think people need to realize about this this competition is that it's not a sustainable design competition. It's a circular economy competition, and every year we get a lot of submissions that just really aren't circular, or at least the circularity of their solution isn't clearly called out and described. And so none of those ever get into the finalists for obvious reasons. But I think that the first thing that a student team could do is just to make sure that they understand circular economy and that their solution actually fits that criteria. There's lots of more little things that carry through, but that's the first hurdle that so many teams just don't get over.
I would also add that having a strong balance in all the aspects of your proposal. We see proposals, and maybe some of you heard this reflected back in our comments, that have a lot of focus on the technical part of the solution, and it's been well prototyped and worked out, and then the marketing isn't so much there, or what the or something like that. It might be the other way around. So just remembering to think about all of these different aspects, pull on the strengths of the members of your team. Hopefully you've got enough diversity there to help you be able to look at it from all of those angles. But we're definitely want to see all the pieces put together, so having that balance is helpful.
Along those lines, but in a slightly different way, although we need all of those pieces, I think one of the most tricky things that we often see is, from a presentational standpoint, we really need to quickly understand what the core of the idea is. And often there's a lot of information that is about the implications of their idea or how it will work in a lot of kind of extra layers on top of it. And those are great, but try and order it so that you quickly understand the idea first, and then you build nicely in terms of the layers and the more complexity and the implications and how it's going to work, and in terms of the real world and everything. So I would say just, yeah, try and focus so simply on what are you actually doing, and communicate that first, and then tell us all of the rest of it that is important.
To follow on that, we do get a lot of submissions in the beginning where the teams do spend a lot of time describing, for instance, the implications of climate change. And we get that. We understand climate change. What we want to know is what Alicia just said, which is what is your solution doing to the challenge of climate change? And so I think a lot of the first submissions, especially, can dispense with some of the detail about what the problem is, unless it's really about the challenge you're solving. The other thing that I see a lot is once we get into the sort of financial and business end of the projects, I see a lot of projects that focus on cost and revenue, which is all important, and just gloss over behavior change. And almost every one of these projects requires often consumers, people, to change their behavior. And I think that a lot of teams underestimate how difficult that is to do. Simply having a better solution doesn't make people change their behavior. And so I think that more attention to, and that includes research, and the results, the insights that come from talking to people about how they make decisions and what drives those decisions, and then more attention to how teams are going to build on what they understand about people's buying behavior and decision behavior, turning that into part of your solution to show that it's not just about having a better idea, it's about how you're going to get people to move to this better future.
Something else that just occurs to me that I think is really important, because I think all of your solutions actually this time, besides the solar stove, were focused on biomass as a resource that you were going to circulate more effectively. And I think especially for the biocycle area, the circular economy, what I would really encourage teams to do, including yourselves as you're moving forward, is to really understand the carrying capacity of the ecosystem that you're embedding your project in. So for instance, really understand the amount of waste biomass, the amount of nutrients that should be returned to that ecosystem, and then think about your growth plans with those constraints in mind. So the idea of just growing in general is like, we then want to serve this market and that market and go international. And that sounds nice, but when you're talking about using biomass from very specific ecosystems, even if it's waste, it can become very detrimental to scale over a certain threshold. And so what I'd recommend is thinking about alternative growth models. So you don't have to just stay in one community, but you may want to think about franchising your model to different communities and then relying on sources of biomass that are present there. And then you have to think about, how would you work in different communities? How would you start to gather information? How would you rely on local knowledge? Would you then just set up, maybe you want to give away the tools and let other people create businesses in other places. But these kind of scaling and growth conversations are super important when it comes to the biocycle part of the circular economy.
That was a really important question. Thank you for asking it. I will say that another important answer to that question is, and I coach a lot of teams too, but for anybody listening in, when a judge makes a recommendation, please follow it. It's not very smart as a team to disregard a judge's comment. This is a general recommendation on my part, as I've watched a lot of teams over the last 8 years. The ones who listen in, lean in, and take on the suggestions of the judges tend to be more successful than those who do not. So I'd say follow their lead. They're lovely and smart people. Who has the next question?
I do.
Okay.
All right, great.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to ask the judges, what have they seen unique about this year's Wege Prize? I believe they've been judging for quite a number of years. So what have you found unique about throughout all the phases up till now? Thank you.
I could kick off and answer that one, Victoria. Every year it gets harder to judge because the starting level of knowledge of the teams are submitting tends to be much higher. If we go back to the earlier years of the competition, I mean, 8 years ago, it was a long time ago, circular economy was not such a well-known idea. So there were some instantly you could give feedback to teams quite quickly about where they're lacking in circular economy knowledge and understanding. There's much less of that these days. So that, for me, is the biggest change. And I see that in my day job as well, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, the people that we work with, the students that we work with, they're so knowledgeable on this idea that makes it difficult for us as educators or judges in this competition, because we really have to up our game to help support you take your ideas to the next level. So for me, that's the biggest difference. Your starting point is much higher up, and that means that we have to up our game.
Yeah, we continue to learn new things. Don't press me to name a single one at the moment, but we continually learn new things with all of these projects every year, and we learn from each other. We constantly have to poll each other about a particular topic because we're not experts in everything. But not only has the quality risen each year, but the complexity and the interesting solutions have, risen and gotten more interesting over the years as well.
I would also add one thing is that what I think is really impressive about this group of finalists here is that none of you are hiding under a kind of fancy wrapper in the sense of trying to sell an idea. Sometimes we've seen in previous years teams that are just saying, we're going to develop an app, like that's going to solve it. Or we're going to do something that has like a kind of, just a kind of fancy label that everyone thinks like, oh, that's a really hot thing to do. And so what I think is really important is just that you get to the heart of what you're really doing. And then if technology is useful, then of course you use it. But I would say that this group epitomizes, I think, really focusing on the flows and the actual systemic links that are necessary, rather than a kind of technology wrapper that has a kind of hot button set of words to it to try and sell it,
Yes, thank you for no TikTok cryptocurrency-based apps this year.
There was no one said AI or machine learning. Or
Right, exactly.
Even though I think they're really important.
May I ask a question of the students? I had the pleasure of listening to your interviews with Deanna Anderson from Green Biz Magazine. I really thank you very much for participating in that portion of our competition. You were very, very fascinating interviewees. I enjoyed hearing how you built your teams and the experience of having diversity in your teams in terms of different disciplines represented on your teams and how that was a positive thing for you. Could some of you speak to that and how that collaborative component of different diversities of experiences and disciplines helped your process? Could you share some of those experiences with us?
Yeah, so I would like to share
Thank you.
my experience. So I'm studying computer science and engineering, and so with my background in tech, I actually try to bring ideas in terms of how to market our products using online service, and also building website in order to connect, especially if we want to be like the preprocessor, just like by providing the pre-processed cashew juice, apple juice to juice manufacturing companies outside the country. So by building websites or linking through suppliers. Yeah, so I brought that idea, and one of my team member, Aliyah, who's studying chemistry, biochemical engineering. She also has that background, and it was very helpful because she was able to give us ideas in terms of how we were able to process and manufacture our juice. And yeah, so these are some of the dynamics and the experiences we got and shared together with each other.
Do you think you would have done that if we hadn't asked you to reach out and find other disciplines to participate in this process?
Yeah, actually, we already like were friends, and we
Oh,
already
good.
had that team together.
Good.
Yeah, before we even found out that we need a diverse team. Yeah.
Good. Did anyone have a different experience?
I just wanted to add that, yeah, I think that is very, very interesting what happened with Wege Prize, because you end up like this having this team that we all have different disciplines, and it is great because the competition asks you to do it because you have different stages such as the prototyping, and for that you need like some designers or engineers that are worried about the functionality and about the aspect of what you're creating. And by the other side, you also need people that knows about marketing, about business, about economic analysis. So you need like this mix of people working together. So I think it's a great experience.
Good.
And I really, really recommend it.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, I would also want to add my voice. So yeah, the transdisciplinary formation is very great. Apart from the fact that it's a requirement for the competition, well, my personal experience has been very wonderful because there are certain things that if you are focused to one field, your attention may not be drawn to that whilst you are embarking on your project idea, but your colleague or your team member, because the person is from a different academic discipline, like, oh no, when we do this way. So it's been wonderful, just as my friends have shared. So it's been great, and we hope to explore more even in the near future, even not with this team, but that idea alone is very wonderful to work with people with different field of experience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I know a little bit about Earth University. All of you folks at Earth only study agriculture, right? That's all. It's a little bit like my
Yes,
college. Yeah. At my college, we only study art and design. So if you want to have diversity on your teams, you have to reach out to other universities to find those expertise.
Exactly.
Alicia.
I have a question for the students, the contestants. I'm curious whether the experience you had trying to develop a business model for your solution, because from a personal standpoint, having tried to develop an organization over the last few years, I've found it really interesting to try and navigate the pressures to develop a financially sustainable model right out of the gate if you have an idea. And I think there's real value to thinking about the different types of organizations that may fit your idea at different points in time. So for instance, it might be viable to go for a nonprofit organization that relies on grant money at a certain point in time, or maybe it's a cooperative that works with local people to sustain yourself, or maybe it's a straight up startup that needs, venture capital or what have you. But I'm curious whether you, just from that perspective, how you navigated those questions around the financing of your project, and how you feel comfortable or uncomfortable with the form that you took, or the kind of the path that you took in your applications, and then kind of looking ahead, how you feel about that development side of what you're doing.
Actually, for me, maybe I could comment to say the best important thing that we have to do as applicants or students is to make contact with people who are providing, for example, materials on the market, and to know the real prices of things and all the cost of production. And through that one, you can determine which business model you can use.
really great answer. Really understand what people want first.
Yeah, so actually for us, we like we're finding ways and means of how we will be able to prevent that the waste of the cashew apple, and also the potential, I mean, the health potential that the juice might have on our people, and because we realized that those who produce it in Brazil and in India, they are able to provide it in such a way that they're able to make profit at the same time they're helping the society. So yes, we're having a problem of job problem, environmental degradation problems. So solving that problem will provide economic, like money at the same time, jobs, and also at the same time food security. So we initially didn't take into account the business model of like taking money, but we realized in order to solve it, we need finance to be able to supply the fertilizers and also help the farmers. So yes, so we take into account the existing juice sellers, and we realize, yeah, we need to find a nice business model in order to be able to compete with them. Yeah, so we took into account all those things. We took all of them into account.
I'll jump in and say the other thing that we highly recommend is that student groups have mentors. And I know some of you did. And I could imagine maybe some of your mentors did advise you on business model canvas strategies. Did any of you have some success with that?
Yes, we did. Our mentors, especially, we have this mentor she's into oyster mushroom production, even though not in large quantity, but she has experience in that. And she really helped us out because there were so many things that we didn't know. We just wanted to produce mushrooms with the waste, but there was some technical aspect that she drew our attention to. And looking at our approach, we were looking into organic production without the use of pesticides. So we got to realize that, even the mushrooms could be attacked by pests. So her recommendations really helped us trying to find an organic way or eco-friendly way of targeting the pest. And that is true, the neem tree leaves, sorry. And she drew our attention to that fact. I really didn't know that, those leaves could control pests. So these are some of the things that the judges have helped us with. And I believe that it's very fundamental for any startup initiative to have someone who is more experienced to bring up their idea to support whatever they are doing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Very good.
Can I ask you a question?
You may. Go ahead.
Okay, my question. Thanks. The thing is that we have now, after winning this one, of course, we know that we have prepared so much. We are very ready to start the setting, for example, for our business. My question is there availability of the judges to say that when maybe we face a bit of challenge, we can contact to say, can you please help me here? How do you think we can do here? Or something like that? Or Wege Prize Foundation, does it have some mechanism to say that they support winners after after this period?
That is a very lovely question, and we would be delighted to help you think that through. It's rumored that some judges do find themselves available to answer questions after the fact. But let's circle back on that later and see what happens. For sure, let's do that.
Well, I could reiterate that what you just brought up is quite possibly in the pipeline for the future.
It's a good idea. It's a hope moving forward. So thank you for asking.
Yeah. Well, and that's also another reason to have a good set of mentors, because they may be your lasting advisors moving forward.
Right.
Actually, it can be like maybe informed to say after 6 months from now, they should be mentored to say they should help the teams implement and get stable on the ground.
It's it's a reason why we want you to keep an eye on your email and stay connected to us, because we want to be able to keep you posted on any new information that might be coming forward.
Thanks so much.
Anybody else have any more questions?
I wanted to ask, but it was more like specifically about my project.
You may.
Because if like, yeah, okay. So if you had our panel, like what will you do? What will you improve? Like what will be our next step if you were having our project?
I think one of the things that came up for all of us when we were discussing your project is that it would be really great to see a modular approach to your panel. I think that's definitely makes a lot of sense to us, and specifically shapes that are easier to size based on your wall. So from a kind of quick, how many square feet do you have to fill on your wall, and then they can order it. So some around the kind of geometry and ease of use, being square or modular in a way that can easily fill a wall. And then also just understanding more about the aesthetics and utility of how it would be integrated into your average home, and just seeing the need to have a kind of a really beautifully designed functional prototype that you can see on someone's wall in a very clear sense. I don't know if any of the judges want to come in on that.
Yeah, no, I'm in complete agreement with what you were saying there too, and I think maybe it's more of like a design element, like a design approach that so when people see this, they know this is yours. Like this is generated from your approach, your solution to this problem. I think there's a lot of possibility in how it's weaved together. There's a lot of element of design. I think that if you get a designer, an artist, somebody who works in textile design, possibly, you may have different options, of how it looks on your wall. For the construction purposes, that wouldn't matter, because you probably have it within the wall or be painted over or something to that effect. But if it's going to be sort of something that lays on the wall, I think if you take a look at it in terms of a design problem, I think you could really it's got a lot of potential.
Thank you.
Another quick thought in that direction is that you might also look at other organic waste sources for acoustic panels, and that could be something that you could look for different looks and feels in terms of people's aesthetics, or whether with the palm leaves you would have some sort of covering. So along the lines of what Chris was saying, is just the design element, I think, is super important.
I think a lot of that could be accomplished by prototyping, getting some initial volunteers or consumers. Maybe you just give it to them for free to test it out, but just have them try it for a while, get them to give you feedback. That'll also help you with your design. So just moving in more into prototyping, I think, could help you learn quickly without having to try to guess what's on people's minds.
Yeah, thank you. That was our idea.
Excellent. We have a few minutes left. We do not have to use the full hour. If you're running low on questions, that's totally fine. If the judges have any last moment kinds of words of encouragement, that this would be a good time to put those forward. Or we could.
I have a quick thought based on last year's or previous year's teams and seeing how some have continued to evolve their ideas. And I would suggest don't be worried or afraid about changing up your solution, in the sense that I've seen a really, really successful ideas where the core insight and the kind of the trying to make a certain type of material, but the feedstock has to change because they realized when they got into a further stage of production that it wasn't working the way that they thought. And that's totally fine. So I would recommend like just staying the core of your idea in terms of what change you want to make, what general logic is behind your, but the particulars, don't be afraid to change and adapt as you meet different obstacles.
I would also like to build on that. I bring in a lot of circular economy entrepreneurs into my class. And what I found with a lot of them, they never started exactly with the idea that they ended up with. And in addition to changing materials, sometimes they got and they said, we thought we were going to solve this problem, but then we discovered this other problem needs to be solved first, and now we're going to go work on that. So there is no shame in that. It just means you've understood the system really deeply and gone to where the real need is. So it doesn't have to be perfectly conceived ahead of time, and there's lots of great successes in circular economy ideas that came from very different origins.
Excellent words of encouragement. Thank you. And I want to reiterate what Victoria said, in that you need to think about the unintended consequence too. Really think systemically about, if I do this, what could happen down the path? Have I really thought it all the way through? So thank you for that kind of thinking. That's really important. I really encourage you to give it a go again if you're still in school next year. We love to see that iteration. That's what design is about. We really want to encourage that. And I want to thank you all again and again and again for a fantastic year. And please stay in touch. And you need some well-deserved sleep. I just want you to go get some, okay? And I'll celebrate with you tonight, only from here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So again, I want to say thank you to everybody, and I'll see you next year in 2022. Bravo, it's a wrap.